From origin to legend.
I need to become a symbol. I need to become Batman.
Become the hero.
Someone's gotta step up.
Build a legacy.
Let's get to work. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. I'm allergic to nuts.
Lego Batman, Legacy of the Dark Knight.
This is my favorite part.
Available May 22nd on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and PC.
Rated E10 for ages 10 and up.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Kicks. Your best defense is a mental offense. And welcome to Nostalgia, a chronological exploration of every NES game released in North America. I'm Mike.
And I'm Joe.
This is an interesting one, Kicks here, because I feel like I know a lot about like early arcade games. Usually you go to an arcade enough, you'll see like all the classics. You'll see Frogger, you'll see Q*bert, obviously Pac-Man and Space Invaders. Kicks is early, it's 1981, and it seems like it was rather popular, but I'm being completely serious when I say I'd never even heard of Kicks 1 week before we recorded this episode.
Oh, same. This was popular? When I was playing this, I was thinking like, oh, we're gonna blow some people's minds that this game exists. We're gonna be like, yeah, check out this game you've never heard of.
It's funny that you say that because that was my, like, before doing any research, that was my thinking as well, was like, oh, this is kind of an obscure arcade game. It is not. It has many sequels. It has a long legacy. It was, again, an early arcade game published, or rather released, by Taito. So it's definitely well known by at least our audience, right? Our audience tends to know way more than us.
Yeah, 100%.
And so rather than be funny or anything about Kicks and the name there, I think it's just worth mentioning that it was called Kicks because the husband-wife duo that made the game, it was named after their license plate, which was Just for Kicks, spelled J-U-S for the number 4 Kicks, pronounced Just for Kicks, obviously. So there's no like deeper meaning to the word there or anything. It was just kind of like, hey, like, remember that thing from my license plate that was an abbreviation? Like, what if we made that the name of the game?
Well, they sure did expound on that with like more lore than like some like full adventure games have as to like what Kicks is and what each thing, like names of different things and stuff. So like it's funny that this came from just like their license plate.
Right, because the game is very abstract and has nothing to do with driving, although I guess you could say if you wanted to make it like a Tron thing, that you are driving some kind of thing across a infinite space. But the pitch is essentially you control this diamond-shaped marker on the edge of a empty rectangle or square. Is it square or rectangle? It's a little longer, right?
And I guess
is it
it's
equal?
Both a square and rectangle, because it does look square to me, but...
Okay. Yeah, it looks like a square to me now, but I wrote rectangle, so dealer's choice. Anyway, your job is to draw lines into the void of this parallelogram. And is that right? Is that the right term?
I think so.
Cool.
I don't know.
And you carve out your territory, and that gets filled in with this cool design. And now you have to, you get like essentially a claim percentage. So like out of that square, you just filled 5%. And there's a claim percentage, there's a threshold percentage, and the level you're on. And so the threshold is what you have to at least meet. So if it says threshold 75%, you have to claim at least 75% of the screen. Sounds easy. It sounds like I'm just drawing around an empty square. What's the big deal? Well, there's a couple things stopping you. And the biggest thing is kicks. This very, very abstract, kind of scary concept if it was to be visualized by man. But it is a colorful geometric figure that essentially is a bunch of lines moving very randomly throughout the open space. And I emphasize the randomness because it truly feels random as opposed to the Pac-Man ghosts, which, as most people know, like it is possible to play a perfect game of Pac-Man. That's because the ghosts move very predictably, even though it seems random, as long as you move in the same exact movements. Kicks, this thing, it moves in a way that is truly unpredictable and makes it scary to be near it, because at any moment, any one of its lines could go towards your line. And that is the problem, is that the kicks, if it touches your line before you complete the space, you are dead.
And it's hard to explain what kicks looks like exactly, but if you're listening, I do recommend that you just look it up real quick, like a video of it, just to see what this thing is. Like, I have to give them praise that just by, like, this whole game is one of the, like, there's one of the more simple designed, like, art elements, like, involved in this game they're very basic. But, like, kicks being literally just, like 5 lines moving around with, like, 2 different colors, it does such a good job of being, like, chaotic and very scary. Like, it just feels like... we might have mentioned this on the podcast before, but Mike, Sean, and I actually went and saw the movie... Is it called Life?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The movie Life with, I believe, Jake Gyllenhaal.
It is. Jake Gyllenhaal and... Yep.
The monster in Life reminds me of Kicks, or vice versa, where it's just this, like, chaotic, so alien thing that it's just it's funny that I'm describing this and it's just like lines on a screen, but, like, yeah, it does feel like this scary thing where it's like, this thing can get me at any second, and, like, it's not thinking the way I'm thinking, it's just fucking moving around.
Yeah, and eventually there's 2 of them, and so, like, you know, they find ways to up the stakes here. And in addition to the kicks, there is also the sparks, which are, like, they patrol the border of first the square, but then eventually your filled in areas too, so that you have to also not just be, like, hugging the walls while you anticipate the kicks moving away. You have to kind of continuously dodge both, you know, your created space and the void space that you're trying to fill. All the while, you have 2 options of speed to fill in. And at first, I just couldn't figure out a reason for why you would ever use the slow one. There's a slow speed and a faster speed. The slower speed rewards more points. So if you don't care about points, then have I got great news for you. There's an easier version of this game. But if you do care about the points, you know, you'll use the slower one in order to accumulate more points. Granted, you'll be filling in the screen a little slower. I think the game itself, even though kicks feels like it moves randomly, does have kicks be way more forgiving at the beginning of the game, in the way that, like, when you're playing it, you feel like you can start by just filling in, like, at least 40%, if not more, of the screen on the first stage.
Yeah.
That is a behavior that is bad to take with you throughout the game, because you will be punished for trying to make giant spaces, and it looks like really good players just focus on making, like, very small, like 2 to 5% clears at a time before they go back to their larger area, because you want to just continue to confine the space that Kicks is in rather than try to make one big pull. You're not rewarded necessarily for your speed.
Yeah. And I do think that in at least the first level, I think the Kicks AI is actually designed to avoid contact with you. Maybe just to teach you.
So it's a sentient being. It's learning.
Yeah, exactly. Even scarier.
Yeah, it gets scarier by the moment.
I am surprised. Well, I'm also watching a playthrough right now, which I'm sure you are. I didn't know this strategy of making these tiny little boxes of 2% until you're able to suddenly block off kicks and then like fill off like the suddenly another 80% of the screen at once. Until I'm watching this guy. This is definitely the way to do it. I was taking all kinds of risks that were sometimes paying off and sometimes getting me killed. And I worry that this episode is going to be very hard to follow if you don't see what we're talking about. But like,
I think it makes sense where if you're filling a space, and it's like your space is the void at first is large, and as you fill it in, it gets smaller. But so is you're now confining the kicks to a smaller area too. So as it's moving around, you have more chance to make contact with it
because the kicks can't pass by anything you've drawn. So like, yeah, you're kind of walling it in. But like, I also I had a hard time. I like understanding, like I could intuit it, but understanding like which section will be filled in when I make a box. Because like sometimes you're not just making a little box, sometimes you're dividing the whole screen, or you're making this crazy geometric shape that goes from like the top left corner to like halfway down the bottom right area. And sometimes the bigger space gets filled in, sometimes the smaller space gets filled in. And I'm thinking it just fills in the space that kicks is not in.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I feel like that's the rule because you can't crush kicks.
Right. But then eventually when there's 2 or 3 kicks is...
the plural of kicks is kicks.
Okay. Good to know. Then does it just choose the biggest or the smallest area?
Well, you've just introduced an amazing additional mechanic that they did think of, and that is that when there are 2 kicks, if you are able to split them up, you all your points are worth double going forward, and then triple, and so on. So,
but does it not fill in one of those spaces when you split them up?
It does.
Okay, so do you know how it picks which space?
No, yes. I now get what you're saying too. I was getting excited to introduce the next
that
mechanic,
is a cool mechanic.
Yeah, but you're right that like theoretically the game does have some rules beyond just don't crush kicks.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like we haven't even talked about like the look of this game and the vibe of this game and everything. But like, it's just there's as we're talking about it now, I'm realizing there is a lot to this very simple game that like when on the surface looks like it's just draw these lines and split it up.
You know what's the easiest way to describe this game to somebody who's not looking at it and maybe is learning about it for the first time? It's like an Etch-a-Sketch.
That's a very good call. That's what your drawings look like exactly. Right. Even to the point of like the point that is drawing it, you can always see that little like tip of the needle in the Etch-a-Sketch. Like that's kind of what your cursor looks like.
Yeah.
And I just the way that your lines look, you can make such thin 1 pixel wide boxes. The line is 1 pixel wide. It fills in with this like pattern. It looks like things that in like the least impressive looking way seemed impossible on the NES. Like I didn't know I could draw such a thin line and it could fill in this like pattern behind it where it like just looks like a Microsoft Paint painting, but like I don't know, it just doesn't look like pixel art to me. It looks too fine. Like fine as in like small.
I know what you're saying with the line itself. Like the line itself is too thin.
Yeah.
And it should be like a 1 inch thicker or something like that, just because you didn't know pixels could get that thin. So presumably it's just drawing a bunch of like black pixels as well, that because the void is black, you're just not seeing them. But that's me making up how video games work, so don't take that for... It sounds right. But the actual backgrounds that it generates when it fills in, that looks like NES art.
To me, it looks like wallpaper. Like some of them just like... I don't know how to describe it, because like when I look and like, that could definitely be NES art, but some of it is just like, that's... I think what it is because the way you contain it in these boxes, it just looks like you're somehow like breaking it through the NES to like this background that's behind it, which is just
I know what you mean, because the walls stay there that you drew.
Yes, and every level it just picks a different random pattern to be filled in by like the boxes you make. Like, I was just like, wow, they didn't have to do that.
Yeah, and a lot of the backgrounds, not all of them, but a lot of them did remind me of like backgrounds you would see in like Mega Man or something like that. So that's why I was saying like it doesn't look like impossible on the NES or anything, whereas like Kicks kind of does feel impossible, like just too chaotic.
Yeah.
Like you're like no sprite behaves like that. And that's kind of like, you know, the interesting thing worth resurfacing here is that it's a game with no characters, no narrative, no world. It's just geometry. But somehow like the tension of kicks the sparks and whatever those what are those like little star things too that like also dance around in the void with Kicks.
Yeah, there aren't those. Oh, I forget what they're called. There was a name for them. It was like Snowflake or something. But like,
okay,
those are the ones that only appear when your time runs out, right?
Yeah, or just over time they appear.
Yeah, but you have the timer at the top, the red bar.
Oh, is that what
yeah,
that
when
is?
that red bar is shrinking, I think if you are still on the level and that red bar disappears, I believe that's when it starts like shooting projectiles at you, although I'm looking at it right now and maybe that's wrong, but there was definitely a consequence like that when your red bar appears, and I thought it was like then those snowflakes or whatever they're called will
okay,
come.
but you have all of that stuff, you know, that's the tension, right? That stuff chasing you, and then you have your own greed to balance of like, you know, like how risky do I play it? Like the game is not going to be fun if you just keep making little 1-inch lines. Like you do have to kind of go for it too, especially because the sparks like, you know, can get close to you if you can find the space enough, and if you touch them, you're just as out as you were if you were in the void. So there is this just like risk and reward system that's very satisfying because it's all defined by the player. The game never forces you to like, you must make squares bigger than 30%, you know, like there's no extra rules. It's just fill the space however you choose to do it.
Yeah, and you know, I'm interested to hear like what your strategy was, because I'm surprised by this strategy I'm seeing on this playthrough, but it looks like the maybe optimal strategy where they're making these tiny little boxes. My strategy eventually became like, at first I was trying to like, take big swings and see like what I could get away with. But my strategy eventually became taking big swings that were like kind of hugging close to the perimeter of the square. So then like if Kicks ever ended up kind of near me, I could always cut to the edge of the perimeter and close up that box. And it's still making a pretty big box because it's like, you know, imagine I'm just like filling in like I'm turning the box into like a picture frame slowly and like filling things in that way, and then like kind of working my way inward became my strategy. But I'm curious what you were up to.
No, I think definitely in the beginning I was just being greedy and covering like 50% at a time, and I was just like, wow, this is gonna be an easy fun game. Like the Kicks is just avoid it and everything will be good. And then eventually it's like, oh wait, this thing's kind of aggressive. Like I need to figure out what my move is here. And so I wasn't making, you know, like what you're seeing in the long play you're watching, I wasn't making like micro movements, but basically you're kind of forced to like make smaller squares as you go. And I was kind of just building on where I was and just continuously building out. So I wasn't really like going back to the larger square. I was hanging out in like whatever I had made and kind of building like little skyscrapers, if that made like tiers off of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. How far did that take you think?
I think I was able to get to level 8. Maybe
okay.
Maybe I died in level 9.
Yeah, because I want to say I got maybe to level 5.
Oh, okay.
And I played like over and over again, like trying to see like how well I could do. I would always end up out of lives by the latest level 6. So I think like 5 was maybe the last one that I beat.
I feel like 9 is when you still have 2 Kicks, but like they also just start to get like so much faster. It's not even like they're more aggressive. They're just faster. So it's really hard to be greedy at all because if you just put yourself out there, they're more than likely going to touch your line.
Yeah. And is that something we even mentioned? Like, you are this little point, and if one of those whatever things roaming the perimeter touch that point, you die. But Kix only has to touch the line that you're drawing if you haven't filled it in yet. So like, if you draw a big line, you're a huge target. I'm not sure if we even mentioned that like, it's not just you that Kix can touch. It's the line that you're drawing before you've completed it that it can touch. And that's what makes it so dangerous. It's
a good point. Yeah, I thought we did, but I agree that it's worth restating because that's what makes it so much harder to be greedy.
Yeah.
And you know, Kix is definitely the star of the show and everything, but it's not like I don't think it has like programmable AI where it actually knows where you are and comes for you. It is still like it's weather. You know, it's like
right.
It's just like it has no recognizable pattern or anything, no AI to exploit. It's just this chaos around you, and so because the Kix is what I believe to be random, you know, no level plays the same way. It's not like, oh, just fill in like from the bottom left, and you know he sticks around this pattern here. It's like you have to. You know, you're built on not pattern recognition, not memorization, but just on, you know, how you want to tackle. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that does make it like interesting, where it's like you have to always be able to. You can't just take someone through step by step. You have to always be able to adapt to like what's happening to you. And that, I mean, I think that's just like any good arcade game. I mean, that's what makes this like a skill-based game rather than like just memorize.
And the two Kixes, when they come out at the starts
you
at level
told me
3.
that the plural of Kix was Kix.
Oh, right. Sorry, yeah. And when the two Kix are on screen, if you draw a line that divides them, we mentioned that now you have a score multiplier, but it also ends the level immediately. It's not like you killed one Kix and now you get to move on. It's just, you killed one Kix and now you have to fill the other space. It does end the level, which is important to mention from a score perspective, which is probably one of the reasons that you would be playing Kix is for high score. The way that it works is not based on time, although it seems like there's a time repercussion in the design of the enemies. It works based on how over the threshold you go. So if the threshold is 75% and you claim 75%, the level ends and you get a 0 bonus because you cleared exactly 75. If you got 76, you would get the multiplier for 1 so if it's 1,000 points, it would be 1,000 points. But if it was 1,000 points and you went 5% over, now you get 5,000 extra points. So it is worth, for high level play, not just meeting the threshold either, but going like as close to above it as you can.
Yeah, and that's we always talk about how like we don't generally care about high scores and stuff. I mean, this is a game you almost have to care about it. I mean, I guess you could just see like how many levels you can get through, but like some of the satisfaction comes from like getting those points by taking those risks and everything. So like I this is one of the rare exceptions where I'm like at least moderately interested in the score. It's still not my primary focus.
And now Kix came out in 1981, and so the NES version of the game basically looks like Kix, you know, in the arcade version. It is one of those where it now like it doesn't need a audio visual polish, right? Like as long as it has the design, the game like remains the same. I think this version of it holds up just as well as its arcade counterpart because it plays the same way. They didn't have to make a compromise on gameplay, and so even if maybe Kix, you know, like the backgrounds, the wallpapers, as Joe was saying, like look better in the arcade, it's like it's not a noticeable downgrade in this NES version.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the arcade version, but I can imagine it looking cooler, but otherwise, like, I'll tell you what I can imagine being an improvement. And this is both a compliment and a complaint about the game. The menu screen music, phenomenal. Like, I would just download this. I mean, it really gets me pumped, and it like feels like the vibe of what this game is. Like, you're trying to fight a rogue computer virus, but it's like fun, and it's, and then the game, silent. Give me this music. I want to hear this music the whole game. I want to hear it the whole time I'm playing. It's not going to be distracting. It's very like rhythmic, and like it feels like some kind of like weird like techno. There's like this percussion in there that just like it gets you grooving. But like it's just until you press start.
So I was able to check out the arcade version while you were talking about that, and two things. One, the arcade version is also silent during gameplay, so that stays. But even more interestingly, this might be one of those rare ones where the NES version might be preferred because the arcade game came out so early. I'm looking at it, and it looks like, with the exception of Kix being bigger itself, like, which is kind of scary that it's even bigger than it was in the NES game. There is no wallpaper fill. It is a solid color fill.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm seeing that now too for the first time. I mean the graphics, phenomenal wallpaper color fill instead of solid color.
It got the upgrade.
Yeah, it's next gen.
Yes, exactly. Now, is there more that you want from Kix, though? Like, is there anything that a Kix 2 could have delivered on? Like, that
yes.
Kix... Okay, go for it.
There's more than I want. And, secretly, you and I actually talked about this shortly before we started recording. I should have saved it for the podcast. But just like last week's game, I played this game with friend of the show, Mark Pascolato. We played 2-player. And it's like that classic arcade 2-player where it's like I play, then he plays, then I play, then he plays. We see each other's score, and then for some reason, when I die, he can keep going, and I can sit there for no reason. But I think there was potential to turn Kix into an actual 2-player experience where you are both fighting for real estate on the screen. Maybe there's still a Kix flying around, and maybe each of you have like one shot of one of those snowflakes to shoot at the other person or something. I think that would have been a very cool. This is me asking for like a different game, but I'm just like, if you're going to put a 2-player in there, it would have been cool to have that as a mode as well. So that's what I want out of Kix 2.
Now, Joe, are you ready for this?
That's what Kix 2 is.
No, that is what the Game Boy version, which was released a year earlier.
That's so funny
in
because
1990.
That's like the worst way to play 2-player of any. You need a link cable.
You need the link cable. Yeah. Yep, you need the link cable, but you can play. It's not necessarily competing against each other. It's co-op, and you can complete together to fill in the void to take on Kix, and fill it in together. So you have your area and they have their area. It's kind of crazy. But there is one crazier thing in the Game Boy version of Kix, which it was published by Nintendo, so it's not like somebody went rogue here. Kix clearly, at least on the Game Boy, was seen as a main attraction for Nintendo and for this link cable, but also for the inclusion of Mario, Luigi, and Princess Peach are all in the version of this game, which is crazy. It's like,
what do they do? I mean,
what do they do?
Well,
you have Mario and Luigi are the teams when you do the co-op. So one person's Mario and one person's Luigi. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
But more interestingly, in between levels, there are little cutscenes to just break up the gameplay. Not like story-wise or anything, just like here's Nintendo visuals to help break up the gameplay. And one of them has Mario in a desert, wearing a sombrero and some Mexican clothing, playing a guitar, and that wouldn't be something that would be worth commenting on if we didn't have Super Mario Odyssey.
Was that whole world like a reference to Kicks too?
Now, saying the whole world is kind of crazy, but the outfit is the same. He gets the costume he gets in that stage in Super Mario Odyssey is the outfit that he was wearing in that one inconsequential cutscene on Kicks on Game Boy.
Do you think they just have like a library of everything that like Mario has ever worn or like done, and they're just like, what can we reference that like nobody has thought about in 25 years? Whenever they make
one of my favorite sites growing up was a website called the Mushroom Kingdom, and they had just a section of like all with screenshots to accompany it, like all cameo appearances of Mario in anything, whether it was arcade, Game & Watch, like you name it. And I don't know if that site's still up, but like they definitely have things to tap into that they still have not. So I think that's just. It's just silly. It's like a neat piece of trivia. And it also just kind of shows that, like, this game that we didn't know about, even, like, Nintendo was taking it seriously enough to be like, yeah, we'll publish that on the Game Boy. Like, we'll make sure that comes to our system. It must have been big in Japan.
Yeah, or maybe it was just big before we were big enough
right.
to know better.
We didn't even grow up.
Yeah, like Peter Pan.
Yes, exactly. Great callback to last week's episode. Please go listen to it if you haven't. We talked about the husband and wife thing because of their license plate, but they made this game. Randy and Sandy. That's interesting.
Wow, that's like a bit.
Yeah, Randy and Sandy, and they said that their eureka moment for the game came in a jacuzzi with a bottle of vintage champagne. What does that mean? Like, why is that solidified now in history?
Yeah, the eureka moment where they were like, let's make this game, or like the eureka moment of like, oh, this is what we call it, or like, this is how it plays, or like, what was the eureka moment? Was there something they were trying to solve before they could finish this game?
I think Kicks came first, like the idea of the entity, through a programming demo that Randy made, and then Sandy suggested the Etch-a-Sketch portion of it, like the filling in and stuff. And she must have done that in the jacuzzi, because that's got to be the eureka moment, right? It's like there's no other moment other than like, how do we turn it into the game? But it's just kind of like, did they say that in an interview? Like, is this verified information? Like,
I like the idea that like Randy just had like a program that would just display Kicks just like flipping around the screen, and there was nothing else to it. And he was like, I just don't know how to play it.
Yeah, right. But they didn't go on to like become prolific game designers. They pretty much vanished from the scene after that.
Well, I mean, you can only go down from Kicks.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. But Joe, this is the part where I now have to do like sequels and spin-offs and tell you that there are many Kicks spin-off games.
Spin-offs, not even just sequels?
Not even just sequels, because there is the sequel, Kicks 2 Tournament. Should be like Kicks 2 The Tournament, but it's just Kicks 2 Tournament, and it's just got a new color scheme and has some different bonuses, but for the most part, it's the same exact game, so it's just like more stages. Then Super Kicks was released in 1987, but still just kind of like Kicks again. The real change came with this game, which is, I'm calling it a spin-off, but it basically is the embodiment of Kicks. It's like a successor to Kicks called Volfeed. And Volfeed is, it was known as Ultimate Kicks on Genesis and Kicks Neo on PlayStation. And those games, they added the idea now that you could also capture blocks. And by capturing these blocks, they have power-ups inside them that can like stop time or shoot sparks, and stuff like that. So the idea of like Kicks style games is not just limited to Volfeed. Like there are other games that I don't have the titles for here, but like are just essentially reskins of Kicks with like, this one's got anime characters. This one's got shmup things. It's all just that kind of approach to it, but it's basically just Kicks. But there's the only like major change to Kicks that's notable is the capturing of other boxes that contain power-ups that like help enhance the game. Some of those clones being Gal's Panic, which is it apparently it started the subgenre of adult-themed uncover the image games, if you know what I'm talking about, Joe.
Wasn't there
we did on our Bites episode. We did
episode, right?
Bubble Bath Babes. So yeah, you're basically playing Kicks, but then the wallpaper is revealing a naked Japanese woman, or at the very least in her bikini. And there are some friendly ones as well. There was Dancing Eyes, which now that I'm looking at the box art, I'm not sure I want to say that that's friendly. Okay, here's one. This is the one I was thinking of. Kakoma Night in Busyland. And this came out on the Super Nintendo. Was not developed by that husband and wife duo, nor was it published by Nintendo or Taito or anybody else. So it's just basically a clone. And it's the same idea, but with like pretty cool visuals. But then the visuals wind up becoming like too much. Like there's no black void. There's this area that you're in, and then there's this area you're filling, and that creates another wallpaper. So there's something to be said too about just the minimalist nature of Kicks being in its favor. Like it didn't need extra things being in.
I think that gives it that vibe of like, oh yeah, you're like really inside the computer right now.
Now, there is one other version of Kicks that after playing this version of Kicks, I said, I have to get my hands on this. And it is called Kicks Plus Plus, like literally the symbol, the plus sign symbol. Kicks Plus Plus, and it came out on Xbox Live Arcade, so I have no idea how I'm going to get a hold of it, and PlayStation Portable. But it is basically part of that line of like Pac-Man Championship Edition and Space Invaders Extreme, where it's like, how do we take these old arcade games and plus them up in a way that like is going to excite that old fan base, not like oh, it's Pac-Man for like Pac-Man World was trying to do, like Pac-Man's now a platformer and he goes to different places. It's like that's not what these games were doing. And Kicks Plus Plus is just such a stylish it says the PSP version's exclusively in Japan, so this is gonna be really hard to get a hold of. But it's just such a cool thing. And also like the Kicks themselves aren't like, they become different types of monsters too.
I'm watching
and
footage of it right now, and it's like, it's interesting. Like they do evolve it enough, but they keep the vibe. They keep the core there.
Yeah, so I definitely want to check this out after checking all this out.
Because it's interesting too because of watching it. Like they really make the animation makes it look like you're cutting like something away.
Yeah, so maybe we're the antagonist.
Yeah.
Like maybe Kicks is just trying to live its life.
Oh, I thought maybe we're cutting away like a virus or something.
Oh,
something bad.
Yeah, so Kicks again is the antagonist. Thank goodness. I couldn't live with myself if it was me.
Right.
But I also couldn't live with myself if we didn't do the essential games list. Joe.
You know what? I'm tempted to throw this a vote, but what stops me is actually a conversation we had on our Best of 90 episode when I brought up To the Earth. And you guys kind of mentioned to me, like, I think To the Earth for you, Joe, is just kind of like scratching an itch for you that you really, really like. And I think that's true. And I think it's true for Kicks too, where I'm like, I think it's just like, it scratches my brain in a way where I'm like, oh, this is like, I really like this. And I think people who like this kind of game definitely give it a try. I don't know if I could say it's essential. Like, I don't know if it's going to be widespread beloved enough to be essential. I'm not even sure I'm going to love it as much as I do right now with the recency bias I have, but I was just like, oh, this is really cool. And I kind of got a little addicted to it for a little bit while I was playing it. But I think it's a definite play it, especially if you like this kind of game. But I don't know if I can go as far as to say it's an essential game.
It's a really smart game. It's somehow an early arcade game that, while it did obviously get clones, we talked about quite a few of them, it didn't go into anybody else's lane at the time, and not too many things like iterate on this idea of like filling the void in a satisfying way while also having a terrifying enemy. You know, there is no ending in Kicks. There's no final boss. There's no credit roll. There's no conclusion. You just play until you die, and the whole point is for a high score. And video games today, I would say like 95% of video games today, narrative completion is table stakes. Like most people play a game and they want to just see the credits roll, and that's how they define beating a video game. Is there still room for a game like Kicks that presumably nobody will be able to claim that they perfected it, but also not too many people will be able to even just clear the levels that are within the game itself? Is there still room for something like that? I think so. And I think it's the same reason why I like all of these arcade games that didn't have things that iterated on them or like that started something. It was like the fun is just that it's a pure video game. You know, you're just like, all I'm doing is just filling in lines, and there's no special trick moves. There's no like Street Fighter 2 quarter circle this and input these options. It's always just like do the two instructions and you can pick up and play this game whenever you want. It reminds me of how I feel about Gyrus in that way. And Gyrus I try to get on the essential games list several times. And I think like it's for the same reason that when we talked about Shadowgate and stuff like that, like it's okay that they're not necessarily the best version, but that they should still be on the essential games list. It does make me want to put Kicks on the essential games list, because I think if it isn't just open up to like the NES version, which to me by all means seems superior than the arcade version I haven't played, I do think that this is great. Is there room for improvement? Like multiplayer, having co-op and the power-up stuff? Sure, but like the game they put here has very little to actually critique. It just makes you want more of it. And so I think that's a pretty good sign. So I am going to vote it on the essential games list, but unfortunately, since there's only two of us, that means that it will not get on, because you always need more than half. And so now, 50% of the vote.
we need Sean now in the best of 91 in like 2.5 years to play it and break the tie. But see, now it's a bummer that it has to be a unanimous vote in the best of 91.
Right.
Not that I will, like, I'm so opposed to ever changing my vote on this one, but it's like I would like to know where Sean would have voted to see if it would have gotten on or not before the best of.
Oh, and we don't have that long till the best of 1991. We just have to wait until March of 2028. So plenty of time.
Yeah.
We'll be able to figure it all out by then. I'm sure you and Sean will be playing it every week until then to make sure that your tastes
stay fresh on it. Yeah.
Yep. Now, next week, we will be playing The Untouchables. Can you touch this?
Only one way to find out.